Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash finale video. So many awesome things happen, and even though there are a lot of big questions left by the cliffhanger, the producers have done some interviews, so we do have some big answers. Just careful for spoilers from the episode. I'm going to start with the really big stuff first, like the really big questions. So here we go. Season 2, going to rely heavily on time travel as a plot device. They said, at the end of the episode, they had that promo where they said, we have an exciting new way to introduce villains. That's going to be the wormhole. Think about it this way. In season 1, they had the particle accelerator explosion, created all those metahumans. It was a huge disaster that gave rise to all these new characters. Season 2 now has this disaster to give rise to a bunch of new characters. The confirmed ones that we know about right now are Dr. Alchemy and Mirror Master. They haven't confirmed any other villains yet. Gorilla Grodd and a lot of the favorites from season 1, they'll totally be back. I mean, we saw Captain Cold in the episode. We even saw Hawkgirl. So here we go. I'm just going to do top 10 moments because so much happened in this episode. Starting with number 10, the Reverse Flash actually refuses to tell Barry what happened between them to start off their feud. I was kind of bummed when he didn't explain it, but that just means that they can leave it for a future episode. We can find out at some other time. The point of the whole conversation was really explaining why he killed Nora Allen. It was because he thought that was the way to get rid of Barry Allen for good, because he couldn't beat him in a one-on-one fight. Kill his younger self, so erase him from existence. But in doing so, it led to ripple effects that left him unable to access the Speed Force. In the comic books, Eobard Thawne becomes the Reverse Flash because he finds a Barry Allen time capsule with Barry Allen's costume and his Flash ring in it and reverse engineers his Flash powers. That's why he's called the Reverse Flash. So if the Barry Allen Flash never existed, the Reverse Flash would have never gained powers. Martin Stein did a good job of explaining the negative effects of time travel, like erasing all the things that had happened, the good things and the bad things. I love the bargain that he makes. You open the wormhole so that I can get home, but that wormhole will also allow you to go back and save your mother. And yes, if he had saved his mother, it probably would have wiped everything from existence. It would have gone darkest timeline. Moving on to number 9, Ronnie proposes to Caitlin Snow. They've had a difficult job selling that romance this year because Ronnie just hasn't been around. Caitlin's been talking about him in past tense. It's not like watching two characters fall in love on screen over the course of a season. So hats off to Daniel Panabaker and Robbie Amell for selling it to us. I thought they did a good job. Robbie Amell is always a lot of fun. Hopefully he'll be back at least for the first half of season 2. Remember what Caitlin said though, the opportunity to go back and see someone you love. She's an incredibly smart person, but you can see in her head she's ignoring the negative consequences of time travel. Speaking of which, when Barry was seeing the past, present, and future, we actually saw Daniel Panabaker in Frozen cosplay. Just put a bookmark on that. That's going to take a little more explaining in my list here. Moving on to number 8. Barry's dad tells him not to save their mother. Most of the people were telling Barry to do what he thought was right. Take care of yourself. You take care of everyone else so much. Barry's dad was one of the few people who was like, you cannot do this. Even if it means saving your mother's life. Think of what it might cost. More than any other character, I feel like John Wesley Shipp has been like the moral center of the show. The talk he had with Iris was really funny too, though. I never thought of myself as a hyphenator. Maybe that's a 2020 thing. Moving on to number 7, the Reverse Flash explains time travel. How funny is it that this time travel plan is how the particle accelerator is supposed to work? It does function as a regular particle accelerator, but the Reverse Flash built it with this in mind, knowing that this is what it would be used for. Barry Allen running fast enough in one direction, and a hydrogen particle moving in the opposite direction. I actually kind of thought that the Reverse Flash was going to be that other particle running in the opposite direction. Like they would both run in opposite directions until they collided at super speed. Cisco asking all the time machine questions was so funny. Tell me, how do you fit that suit in your ring? Wait, no, I don't want to know. Well, I kind of do. Moving on to number 6. The Reverse Flash reveals that Cisco is a metahuman. This is one of the biggest surprises of the episode, and I think one of the most important things going into season 2. Originally, I thought that Cisco, being, a very tech-based person, would just make his own tech. He'd become Vibe that way. The way they're explaining it on the show is just a slight change from the comics. They're making Cisco's ability that much more powerful. The Reverse Flash said that he is sensitive to the vibrations of the universe, meaning that Cisco can probably sense when timelines have changed. I think that they're going to use that as a plot device in season 2. If the storyline is going to rely heavily on time travel, then it would make sense to have a character that could sense when characters are coming from other times. That ties in with that Jay Garrick helmet. If you remember, it just flew right out of the wormhole, meaning that it came from an alternate timeline, a la multiverse. I also think that might be the backdoor to Killer Frost too. Caitlin Snow, Killer Frost. She won't be our version of Caitlin that we've seen this season. She'll be from an alternate timeline. I know it's going to get really confusing, time travel, who knows what. But what I think is going to happen is we'll have like our prime timeline with the characters that we've come to know. Eddie has died, the Reverse Flash is gone, but you'll have other characters spilling in from other timelines. A great and honorable destiny awaits you. I hope that you remember that was given to you out of love. Such a creepy relationship between the Reverse Flash and Cisco. Creepy father-son thing going on. Although it was so great when he said, "Oh no, I'm not sorry for killing you. I'm sure I had a great reason for that." Like yeah, Eobard Thawne, still a huge dick. Tom Cavanaugh, definitely the MVP actor from this season. I think that's why they cast him in the role, just because he's playing so many different characters at the same time. Like you have original Harrison Wells, you have Eobard Thawne, then you have kind of like a combination of the two. And then next season, we'll have a new version of Harrison Wells. Moving on to number 5. Martin Stein explains Eddie Thawne's role in all this. Just like he says, this entire season, he's been the biggest wild card. His destiny is not tied to the destiny of the Reverse Flash because he's the originator of the bloodline. Even though we have multiverse, we have alternate timelines, all kinds of crazy time travel going on next season, the way the producers talked about Eddie's suicide made it sound like it was going to stick at least through the first half of season 2. They just said that the group would be trying to process Eddie's death and learning how to go forward. So it sounds like Rick Kuznets, the actor, won't be coming back to the show in like a big way until maybe a ways in the future. That doesn't mean he won't ever come back. We could see him like the back half of the season. The first half of season 2 is mostly going to be building up to the Legends of Tomorrow spinoff. We even saw, like whenever Barry was time traveling and was seeing past, present, future, in addition to Caitlin Snow, he also saw, the Flash Museum, which was like a huge WTF, and he saw the Legends of Tomorrow team up. There was like a scene from the Legends of Tomorrow trailer. So it sounds like the first half of season 2 is mostly going to deal with the fallout from this wormhole alternate timeline's big catastrophe. It will set the stage for why this Legends of Tomorrow spinoff is necessary. Even though Rick Kuznets, Candace Patton, great actors, I love their performance, I didn't buy their relationship. I wasn't a big fan of them together. But didn't you think that when he was talking about the failed date with the dancer, that was the person he was intended to marry and start the Thawne line? Screw the future. That'd be a good motto for like the first half of season 2, like a good subtitle. On to number 4, Caitlin and Ronnie's wedding. Who knew that Martin Stein, world-renowned scientist, was also a Jewish rabbi? You learn new comic book facts every day. When I saw that this came like really late in the episode, I was wondering how they were going to leave it. I guess that they'll be married well into the first half of season 2. If Ronnie was going to die in like some big way, they probably would have killed him before the end of the episode. So by all accounts, when episode 1 picks up, they will still be together. Everything will be fine. This raises a whole lot of questions about what's happening with Firestorm in season 2 and with the spin-off series, because if Martin Stein is still Firestorm on Legends of Tomorrow, why isn't Robbie Amell also on that series? That could also be an alternate timeline multiverse thing. On to number 3, Barry goes back in time but does not save his mother. Just taking a look at the scene, Barry goes back, but future Barry, the one that saved young Barry, tells him to stop. Like he's like, no, don't do this. Don't save our mother. Doesn't that give you the sense that maybe he's tried that before? Like maybe future Barry understands what will be changed, like what will be lost if his mother does survive. Maybe this has all happened before. And for those of you wondering where that future Barry went, he was erased from existence the minute Nora Allen died. It was a really cry-worthy moment. I love that final scene they had together. You look just like my father. I got a second chance to tell you that I'm okay. Me and Dad, we're okay. I love you. It's relatively close to the Flashpoint Paradox storyline where he goes back in time to try and save his mother and finds out that if he does that, it leads to Darkest Timeline. So he has to let her die. Moving on to number 2, the Reverse Flash teases Rip Hunter alternate universes. Rip Hunter would be impressed. He built the first one of these. That's just a big tease for the spin-off series. Rip Hunter is part of the Time Masters, so I'm wondering if Eobard Thawne is also tied to that organization. They didn't really answer that question. The reason I think he said that the Jay Garrick helmet was his cue to leave is because he sensed that time was starting to spill in on itself, and that if he stayed longer, then it might affect his timeline. And finally, my number 1 WTF moment, giant time vortex opens up over the Earth, threatening to destroy everything. Isn't it interesting that Martin Stein said that even after it ate the Earth, he said that the vortex would still be there? It seems like it's a black hole, but it's also a gateway between universes, between timelines really. I know it's slammed to black just as Barry ran up into it, but I think the tease is that, he's coming back just fine in season 2, but probably not after seeing a whole bunch of other really trippy stuff. He'll probably be able to run fast enough to close it, but not before a bunch of other things spill out into their timeline. That's where I think the new villains, the new and interesting villains are coming from that Andrew Kreisberg and Greg Berlanti teased. So you get new villains from the past, present, and future. That's where you get Jay Garrick. That's where you get Mirror Master, Dr. Alchemy, even Killer Frost. And Cisco is the key to sensing where they came from. Like, okay, this person is not from our timeline. As for Tom Cavanaugh coming back as Harrison Wells in season 2, because of what Eddie did, Eobard Thawne never existed to go back in time and kill Harrison Wells, so Harrison Wells never died. Here's my big question for you guys. If they're doing time travel, alternate timelines, universes in season 2, who else do you want to see them bring on the show? As cool as the multiverse is, I feel like it's a really cool opportunity to see other versions of the characters fight each other. Like you have Caitlin Snow versus Team Flash, but it's not our Caitlin. It's like alternate timeline Killer Frost Caitlin. And what if Barry also kind of skips around the multiverse a little bit? Like what if we get to see the Flash Museum? That'd be amazing. Feel free to make as many Doctor Who jokes as you want. I'm so happy with the way they did this season. Of all the comic book shows on TV, I feel like The Flash had the strongest narrative and some of the strongest characters too. I think they owe a lot of that success to the amount of time they've spent working on Arrow. Like they're slowly perfecting this comic book model, but it took them a couple years on Arrow to kind of figure out how to hit that. I'm going to do a season 2 predictions video in a couple days, so be sure to subscribe to get that. But just right off the bat, they are going to be weaving in a lot of crossovers with Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow. Like all these 3 shows, they're building this CW comic book universe like a monthly comic book event. You have like Convergence with its spin-off titles. Everyone will just bounce back and forth. That's why there's a lot of hope that Supergirl could cross over in season 2, but they said no Supergirl crossovers in season 1 have been planned. But some really fun Easter eggs that I haven't mentioned already. Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide. Andrew Kreisberg said that he felt like Cisco would be a big Douglas Adams fan, so that's why he gave him the joke about "so long, thanks for all the fishes." That's right out of Hitchhiker's Guide. And just to run down the list of all the things that Barry saw when he was time traveling: Caitlin Snow, Killer Frost, the Flash Museum, which is obviously from the future. We see Barry Allen in jail, just confirming we're going to see alternate versions of the Flash. More to that too. They said that they were bringing other speedsters on, so that means like Jay Garrick, Wally West, all that stuff. And then the moment from Legends of Tomorrow, the Legends of Tomorrow trailer. Of course, we saw Hawkgirl and Captain Cold in the spin-off series. Who knows when they'll show up again? Hopefully it'll be like episode 1, because you kind of have to build up to that team-up moment on the rooftop in the Legends of Tomorrow trailer. That looks like it's gonna come sometime around the mid-season finale of season 2. Legends of Tomorrow is supposed to premiere in January whenever Flash and Arrow come back. So you have to hit that moment before episode 1. So I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, Supergirl bonus videos this summer. If there's anything special that you guys want to see first, just be sure to leave your requests in the comments below. In the meantime, you can click here to catch up on all my Flash videos, and you can click here for my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3 predictions. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody, let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.